Hey, I'm Meg James, your Move to Spain coach. Welcome back to my channel and episode 6. It's called You Pay How Much Per Month in Madrid? So let's play a game and see if you can guess how much my family of 4 and I spend in Valdebebas, Madrid, about 20 minutes outside of Centro, and compare it to costs in the US. I am interested in my comments to see if you think it's high, if you think it's low, and if the costs seem just right. I want to add that Madrid, Spain is a very expensive city. It's like the equivalent of living in New York City if you're in the US. And so you can live in Spain and live in different provinces or regions and it'd be much more affordable. So keep that in mind if you're looking to move to Spain. And as always, I want to remind you that I'm a Move to Spain coach. And so if you're considering how you can move to Spain, how your family can go without a guarantee of a job, where to start, how to get a visa, I'm your girl. So just schedule a call on my Calendly and we'll talk about how to get you to Spain. So let's jump in and look at how much we pay per month living in Madrid, Spain. And I asked my Instagram community to send me some questions. So that's what we're gonna answer here today. So let me open them up. There were a lot of good questions. So the first one was, what is the average rent in Valdebebas, Madrid? So we pay the equivalent, I'm just gonna do US dollars, of 2,750 US dollars per month. Now, we're only in like 1,200 square feet here, and we love living small, but that's pretty expensive for small. So I think that depending on how close you are to Centro, how much you're willing to pay, the newness, like we have a new construction flat here, I think you can estimate on idealista.com to find a 4-person rental in Madrid anywhere from maybe 1,500 to 1,750 per month, but more likely from about 1,700 per month to closer to 4,000 a month. Now, to be honest too, you can also go north, like way north, like past Tres Cantos, into the mountain area, into the Navacerrada area, Manzanares El Real, and you might find places a little bit more affordable to rent outside of Madrid. So let's look at the next one. The next question is, what about transportation costs? So for our family, we do need to go north to Tres Cantos for school. We also need to go to a CrossFit gym. That's about a 5 to 7 minute drive. And they're just not as easily done on public transportation. So we decided to get a car. We have a car subscription and we pay the equivalent of about 600 US dollars per month. This includes unlimited mileage for travel through Spain. It also includes roadside assistance and any auto insurance needed. And so it's not super affordable, but it's also not super expensive if you think about the cost of leasing a car in the US or the cost of what it would be to buy one here without knowing how long we'll be here. And so I would estimate if you're renting or leasing a car, it would be around 600 US dollars per month. So let's look at some of the other questions here. Okay, the next one is your groceries. So this depends on the supermarket that you choose. I prefer Supercore, which is kind of the equivalent of like a Whole Foods or Sprouts that has organic, clean ingredients for whole food type eating. And so we can spend up to 400 US dollars per week. Now I will add that there are times that we spend way less than that and way more, but the average is probably around 300 to 400 per week. Maybe more if it's a holiday or a big event. Now I will point out that we get groceries every day or every couple of days. So we're not really spending per week per se. We're just going daily and getting fresh items. Then when you're there, you pick up other things. And so it could increase the costs by going more frequently like we do. So if you're someone who is willing to freeze your meats and to store things here, then you may be able to go to like a Costco and save some money in Madrid. But for me and my family, and we put probably the most money in spending things into our food, we spend up to about 400 US dollars per week. The next question is eating out. So restaurants in Valdebebas, Madrid are similar to those in Centro. They can be very expensive. We find that, for example, you can go to a Goico, a hamburger place here in Valdebebas, and we can spend as much as 60 US dollars for a family of 4 on hamburgers. We can also go to a Burger King, which we don't choose to eat at, but it can be much more affordable. So there is a range of different restaurants here. There's very high end, like, $30, $40 a plate. And then there's the lower end, like an El Kiosco, like a tapas kind of bar. And so wine, beer, those things are very affordable. And remember, you also don't tip here. And so bills eating out are 20% less. You can give a €1 coin or a €2 coin or a little bit more if it's been excellent service. But for the most part, that really does reduce the cost of eating out here in Madrid. Monthly travel to other places in Spain. So when we do road trips, like to some of the provinces and towns near Madrid, it's very affordable. We're just paying for gas and maybe eating out at a restaurant or packing some road trip snacks. But when we take a flight from Madrid, that is one of the biggest pros of Madrid, Spain. You can fly very affordably from Madrid to other areas of Spain or in Europe for very, very cheap. So our family just got back from Ibiza, Spain, in the Balearic Islands, and our flights for a family of 4 were $250 equivalent US dollars round trip. So it's an excellent way to travel from Madrid to be able to fly affordably here, and I really recommend Madrid for that reason. The next question was a gestor. So a gestor is like a tax accountant. For me and my family, I'm gonna link here our referral for a Spain tax accountant. We don't know what we pay them yet monthly because we actually haven't kicked off the service. We're not paying our taxes until next year for 2024. But in the US, we have a accountant that we pay $250 per month for, and that helps balance both our US taxes and then just kind of checks and balances with our Spain taxes. And so I don't know what the monthly cost would be, but they're doing free consultations. So you can get on the phone with our adjuster on a free consultation to see. Okay, let's keep this going. I'm getting a lot of questions from my girl Candy, who I had a Your Move to Spain coaching call with, and they're getting ready to move their family to Spain. And so let's keep answering some of these questions. Bills. So bills are one that is a total flex because they're not as expensive as the US. Obviously our space is much smaller, but between like a gas bill, electric bill, water bill, we're looking at a fraction of our cost of what we paid in the US. We pay quarterly or really every 2 months possibly, and our bills for all of them total may be around 200 equivalent US dollars. So much more affordable than in the US, the bills that come out for apartment rental services. Cell phone bill, that's one of our biggest flexes in Madrid, Spain. We use a company, called Digi, I couldn't think of the word. And Digi is a great company that we only pay $40 US dollar equivalent in monthly for my husband and I both to have cell phone service and for our internet. So incredible. It's super, super affordable. This is one of the biggest ways that we save money living in Spain, is this simple getting rid of that $200, $150 cell phone bill. We don't have that anymore and we love that. All right, school uniforms. For school uniforms, our boys go to a private school here in Madrid, Spain. We paid probably the equivalent of about $200 US dollars for 2 kids for school uniforms for the year. So doable and probably similar to that of the US. And haircuts. Haircuts is one of my biggest flexes. Oh my gosh, to get my hair cut and colored in a women's salon here in Valdebebas, I pay the equivalent of $55 US dollars. She does an incredible job. She does not accept tip. I mean, you can give €1 or 2, but $55 US dollars to get my hair done and colored. That is enough of a selling point right there. Nothing else to even say. Okay, so now we're talking about what about the price of private schooling for our kids. Now this can range depending on the school that you choose for your child, of course, but our school just outside of Madrid, Spain, for 2 children attending is the total of about the equivalent of 12,000 US dollars per year. Now that is still a sacrifice, but in the US, it would have been over or close to 30,000 for 2 for a similar sister school of accredited Christian Schools International. And so we will happily pay 12,000 versus the almost 30,000 that we would have paid in a US private school. So that is our story. There are great public schools, there are great semi-private schools, there are way more expensive private schools than we go to, but we're kind of in a middle of the road private school here in the Madrid area. So let's keep going and see what else. What about the cost of soccer club or kids sports? So our boys are getting ready to play for a soccer club here in Valdebebas, and it goes from September to June. In the US, you may be more used to having a fall sport, a winter sport, spring, and then when you add it all up, it may be similar to this. For our boys, it's going to be about $650 US dollars each for them to be able to play this club football team. So we're looking at about 1,300 in a calendar year, or I shouldn't say calendar, in a season. And so that again goes from September to June, but it includes their uniforms, it includes backpacks they're using for school, it includes all the club fees, the travel fees. And so they're really excited to be part of this squad, and it's a sacrifice, but it's a great way to meet local kids and practice Spanish. And so that's what you can expect for some of the kids' activities, including soccer. Okay, so for entertainment, I love this question on kids' activities. If your kids are not playing sports, then you still may have costs to attend like museums in Madrid. I find the admission price for a lot of museums for the kids, except for the Real Madrid Stadium tour, the Bernabeu Stadium tour, that one's very expensive, but worth it. It's usually about $20 US per ticket. It's pretty typical for a city in the US. There are so many free things though to do in Madrid. Do not miss my previous episode 5 on things to do in Madrid. Several of them are free or very low cost, but some of our favorite things to do in Madrid don't have costs, like going to Plaza Mayor, bringing a soccer ball to Retiro Park. So just make sure before you sign up for tours that you check out the free things to do first. And the last couple of questions that I have here about life in Madrid are, what about the cost of gas? Now, this is a really good one because this one surprised me. I hadn't thought about the fact that gas is imported to Spain and it is much more expensive here than it is the US. We have a pretty big, like a medium-sized SUV here for this rental car, leased car in Spain. And we pay just over or about 100 euros, so like 105-ish US dollars to fill our tank. Now, we're not driving much now, but when we do, we're looking at spending about $210+ per month, which is pretty expensive on gas. So if you decide to lease a car, keep in mind that there will be a high gas fee tied to it. And then the last question I received was just a general question about savings when you're in Spain. So the question is like, what percentage of your income are you able to kind of save while you're traveling and living abroad? And this one is hard because when my husband made about 25% more as an IT executive in the US, we had the ability to do a much longer 401k, like long-term type savings. Now in this season, we're more focused on renting our US home. We're more focused on obviously living abroad and him being his own IT consultant, his own company, working as a subcontractor for a UK company. And so it just looks different, and we are making less, but we're having more and we're making more in experiences, I should say. And so for us, we are still continuing to invest into life insurance accounts that we had in the US. We're continuing to invest in our boys' education accounts while we're here. And we're continuing to give, like to our missionary friends that are in Honduras and others. But it is important to note that if you're choosing to move abroad and if you're lessening your income like we did, you will be saving less. And so we no longer in this season contribute to 401k, although we are contributing to renting out our home. And so it's going to look different in a season of living abroad. Thank you for joining me for episode 6. If you were surprised by any of these costs or you have more questions about costs of living in Madrid, please write them in the comments below. Be sure to subscribe, and just thank you for being here and joining our journey. And I can't wait to help you and your family move to Spain if that's on your heart too.